welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Aded Gober. Thanks for joining me. Today on our program, we'll talk to graduates of the Musrara Art School about their works. A look at the first Iranian vampire movie. And we'll celebrate Disneyland's 60th anniversary. The Musrara Art School is having its graduate exhibitions these days from the photography, new media, and new music departments. With me in the studio are three graduates, Ofir Kellerman, Amir Meir, and Gidon Levi, to tell us all about their work. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hi.
Who should I begin with? I don't know. There are so many of you. Ofir, let's begin hearing from you a little bit. So there are a lot of institutions in Israel to go to if you want to study art. Why'd you go to Musrara?
First of all, I feel that I have all the free creativity that I need to create work which are not really mainstream in the world of art, but also gives me like a free hand.
All right. And you're from the new media department, am I right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you gentlemen from the new music department. That's something that maybe is a little more rare.
Yeah, the new music department is quite a rare scene in the country and also in the world. The premise of it is more about composition based on sound and a lot of and the connection of music and art, which a lot of schools don't put an emphasis on.
Right. So what's your work about? Your graduate work obviously has something to do with music, a little bit of technology in there as well. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so we are working on the connection between light and sound, and more specific, we translate changes in light into sound. The phenomena of sound is rapid movements. We create this movement by breaking a beam of light in this way. This is a photosonic disc.
You know what? There's a clip that you brought. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
It'll explain more to us after.
All right.
So it looks very interesting, but what I want to ask you is, why did you choose to do this? Where does this fascination come from?
We actually we had inspired by an artist that we saw 1 year ago in a festival in Musrara that work in this technique, and we really interesting in these gates between different senses, which usually called synesthesia, as a problem.
The crossing of senses, meaning you can see sounds or hear.
But it's a scale, which all person, also me and you, we sitting somewhere in this scale, and when you walk in the places that between the different senses, you find yourself understanding sound and form much better, and it's a very deep and creativity and very expressive way to play music, and we just in the beginning of the way of the investigation of this field.
It's a very interesting installation. I'm curious if you thought of it as just just a project, or do you think it can be a mainstream instrument to actually use in music?
I think in some sort of way it can be a mainstream instrument. It's not really what occupies, it's not what we think about all the time. The main thing is really the freedom that Amir talked about in composition and different ways of thinking about sound and the connection to visual as well, which
well,
is...
it certainly does that, and it's interesting both visually and it creates a very interesting music. Thank you, guys. Ophir, I want to hear from you again. Tell us about your influences. What led you to your piece?
Actually, from childhood, I've always been a big fan of manga and video games from Japan, which is a culture that nowadays is recognized as otaku, which is basically all these things that I said. And I really like to work with video, and my field nowadays is mainly projection mapping.
Okay.
So I thought of a new way.
Actually, tell us in a few words, what does that mean, projection mapping?
Projection mapping is basically just projecting a video into a certain specific space, which is nowadays basically I can just project a video on anything I want, and to acknowledge the context of the thing itself.
Right, so it uses the actual form of whatever you project on and plays around with that.
Yeah, that's right. Even if it's an object or a building, or even as I see here, my paintings.
Now, there's a lot of video game aesthetics in your work, and obviously the younger generations grow up on video games. Do you see it coming into the art world, design world in bigger, better ways than it used to?
I really hope so, and that is mainly my direction, to actually connect children more to the world of art. Since when I was a kid, I really liked art and going to museum, and I find it that nowadays children are not as fun as...
But it should be the opposite. We're saying that now, computer games and stuff like that can find its place in the art world, which wasn't really the case in the past.
It wasn't the case in the past, but it's still not as big. I mean, mainly the mainstream.
You're saying you can make it bigger.
I hope so. That's my role in the world. I mean, I really don't see it enough.
I have a general question to all three of you. As graduates, as people who are finishing their times as students and are about to embark onto the real world, when you do this kind of project, are you thinking, what do I want to do? Or are you thinking, what should I do that will be able, as a calling card of sorts, as something that I can then go out to the world and tell the world, look what I did?
I think the three of us are working on quite esoteric fields of arts. So the way of thinking, how can I make money or how can I be famous, is not the lead.
No, you chose art. I know money is not in the cards.
Yes, and I think the answer is pretty sure. We're doing what we want and what's interesting us. And we hope that slowly we will get other people to get interested in this also. But this is not the lead of our work, definitely.
Great. Gidi, Amir, Ophir, thanks so much for coming in, for telling us about your work, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Come to our exhibition in Musrara.
Now, while the diplomatic world reacts to the signing of the nuclear agreement with Iran last week at the Jerusalem Film Festival, the country generated a different kind of interest. The film A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is described as the first Iranian vampire film, but as it turns out, it's actually an American film in Farsi. David Gumbin has more.
In Jerusalem, the screening of a vampire movie in Farsi is quite rare. In fact, it's rare anywhere. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is the debut film of young director Anna Lili Amirpour, and it's currently being screened at the Film Festival of the Holy City, where it is delighting moviegoers. In an Iranian ghost town, amid a population of drug dealers and prostitutes, lives a lonely vampire in a chador. With post-Gothic black and white decoration and aesthetics, it can be seen as a feminist manifesto. Ecstasy, heroin, prostitutes. You will see Iran in a very different way.
As people drift into a dream world.
Yet apart from the language, was this film really made in Iran? Critically acclaimed, the film director Anna Lili Amirpour is British of Iranian descent, who moved to the United States, but she seems to have been more influenced by spaghetti westerns than by Farsi cinema. The rough city ambience was set in a former Californian oil city, and one of the producers happens to be Elijah Wood of Lord of the Rings. Screened at the premiere of the prestigious Tribeca Festival in New York, it won the Revelation Award in Deville, and if the critics are applauding the atmosphere it creates, some say the narrative leaves something to be desired. In Israel, the news website Walla put watching it in its sarcastic list of 70 things to do before the Iranians kill us. But keep your expectations low, because you might be disappointed to find out that the film is more American than Iranian. We'll have to wait a little while more for the next great Iranian horror film.
In a moment, we'll hear how Disneyland celebrated its 60th anniversary, but first, here's our cultural recommendation for today.
Holon, July 13th, 32 degrees in the shade. There's no better time in the year than the months of summer to raise public awareness to one of the most severe problems in Israel, the lack of shade in public spaces. We have access to the appropriate technology. Why then have we failed to create a better quality of life in urban areas? The issue is undoubtedly important enough, as it affects everyone's daily life. This exhibition proposed by the Holon Design Museum is more than just a collection of photos and models to create awareness. It is a crying need for planners and architects to create shade.
Oh. And now it's time for Shachar Pellet's segment, Off Screen. Hi, Shachar.
Hi, Adid.
How are you?
I'm great. Well, I'm especially great now that we're going to talk about Disneyland. Well, a few shows ago, we were talking about Back to the Future when they went back to 1955. Aww. Well, this Friday, visitors to Disneyland did actually go back to 1955, when 60 years ago, the anniversary of Disneyland. Disneyland was opened 60 years ago to the date. And of course, it started with a show, as we can see. They played the very first dedication speech by Walt Disney to the audiences there, and they also performed Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins, which was Walt Disney's favorite song from all of the features. Guests received a special pin reading I Was There, July 17th, 2015, and Newsboys gave out editions from the 1955 Disneyland. Everything was very, very much exciting. Even Michael Schwartner, the very first boy through the Disneyland gates in 1955, was there. So it was a very, very happy celebration. But if we look back at the 1955 day, the happiest place on earth wasn't that happy. Yeah. It was an extremely, extremely hot day. There were epic traffic jams, a shortage of food and water, fake tickets. In fact, it was supposed to accommodate 15,000 people, but 28,000 people was there.
Did they initially open Disneyland in Israel?
No.
Because it sounds like that.
No, not yet. Unfortunately, not yet. But we'll get to where there are Disneylands across the world. 28,000 people were there, and it was definitely not equipped. Actually, the employees there called it Black Sunday because it was so bad. But of course, fantasy and reality, they bounced back. Yeah. Well, in 7 weeks, they bounced back to over 1 million visitors, surpassing the Grand Canyon and Yellowstone National Park. And in 60 years, over 750 million visitors every year. These years, 16 to 17 million visitors per year. Without a doubt, they bounced back. But back then, it was called Black Sunday. But of course, there's a difference between reality and fantasy. Those at home, and half the population in the United States, were watching the live broadcast on ABC, co-hosted, by the way, by Ronald Reagan, then the actor and future president. And they were fascinated by what they saw, the park, the theme parks, Frontierland, Adventureland, and of course Tomorrowland, which was supposed to be how 1986 will be. And a trivia
Noted,
to the
yeah.
film. Note my pin. 60 years later, in 2015, Tomorrowland, the movie, was of course a tribute to that very ride.
Not such a big success as the park, but
By
whatever.
the way, that day was stuck in 1955 because it wasn't working, much to the disappointment of the children there. And if we take a look across the world, then we have today Hong Kong Disneyland and Paris, of course, and Tokyo, and very soon 2016 Shanghai Disneyland. This week, the Disney company actually showed a scale model of the future theme park, and we're talking about California, 160 acres. This is 1,000 acres. This is going to be really magnificent, China size.
So there's Disneyland, there's Disney World. This is what, Disney Planet?
Universe, I
Disney
guess.
Galaxy.
Yes, this is going to be huge. And my favorite part will be that there's going to be, for the very first time, a Lion King show, the Broadway show style, but in Mandarin, which is going to be very interesting, I have to
You
say.
have to attend
Next
that.
year in
Thanks,
China.
Jaffa.
Thank you.
That's it from us for today. We'll be back tomorrow with another show, so please be sure to join us again.